Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the first Sarcasm and Liberty live stream of 2019. Happy New Year, everyone. We are back, back to our normal routines. That means we're back to doing live streams on Wednesday nights. Our panel is a little bit shorter tonight, as you might notice. There's only 4. Some people have joined us. We have the Pure Madness one. Madness, I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks. How are you?
I'm still here.
You're still in the EU. All right. Yeah. Well, we know how that is then. Okay. Alicia Ray, you might know her on Twitter as Gold Pill Brown, has joined us once again. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Happy New Year.
Doing excellent. Happy New Year. Thank you. And Eric Laprice. Sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not. Tonight he is here. Eric, how's it going?
I'm going good. The only reason I'm not here is if I've got the baby, because my wife works nights. So if she's working on a Wednesday, I'm not here. That's usually how that works.
Okay. All right. We're glad you could be with us tonight. Now we tweeted out earlier. You may have seen this. What this live stream is going to be. The dumbest moments of 2018. Guys, those last 365 days that passed, what was that? Like, everything that could happen in 2018 did happen, it seemed like.
I feel like that's been a theme for the last 3 or 4 years.
Very true. Very true. I don't know.
Every year just kind of keeps trying to level up a little bit. How much crazier can we get? I was kind of joking around with somebody a couple weeks ago about I think we all actually died in 2012 and we're living in the decline of the Matrix. It's like fritzing, and we're getting all sorts of little glitches because the world did actually end in 2012. I mean, not
like
really.
The end of Lost.
That's really kind of what it feels like.
It's like Lost.
The Mayans were. Yeah, it explains Lost. It explains all kinds of
Some Black had roughly the same theory, by the way. Only his was someone spilled coffee over the machines and they tried to fix it, and this is the mess we got now in.
Maybe that is what happened. I don't know. But do you remember?
That's why the weirdest shit kept happening. Completely fucking nowhere.
Do you all remember whenever the election of 2016 ended and everybody kind of sat back and thought, well, that's over. Maybe now we can get back to some kind of normalcy. I guess we should have known then that was just going to be the precede to at least the next 4 years. Even after 2020, I think it's going to be as bad.
It's going to be 8.
Yeah. It might be, and we're going to talk about that a little bit.
We're going to talk about it a little bit, and I'm looking at the candidate list for the Democrats, and I'm just there's nobody else. You can't. Oh my God. I mean,
well, this live stream is only.
I only care that much, but at the same time, it's man, you can't find anybody better.
Yeah, well, I'm a little upset because Michael Avenatti decided not to run, and I was hoping he would run simply for entertainment purposes, because that debate stage would have been so fun.
Him running
with him there
would have ended up with him in jail, I think, because he'd had to perjure himself.
America would have loved it.
Or half of America, anyway.
They would have loved it. Yeah, well, I think all of America would have loved seeing him on the stage. Now, the aftermath, you're right, maybe half of America, but that debate, at least for an hour or so, would have been interesting. This live stream is only an hour. We try to keep it to an hour each week, so we're not going to be able to talk about everything from 2018, but what we have narrowed it down to is we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren failing her DNA test. We're going to talk about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. We're going to talk about John McAfee, because we have to talk about at least one libertarian on this live stream. And why not talk about him and the tweets that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. We're also going to talk about Trump and Stormy Daniels. We will talk about the Brett Kavanaugh debacle and the neocon freakout over Trump saying he wanted to pull troops out of Syria. So let's go ahead and start with Elizabeth Warren. Alicia, I know that you want to weigh in on this one.
Yeah, that was really interesting. So I'm half Native, I'm half Alaskan Native, but we don't just consider our cultural background to be DNA. You don't take a DNA test to prove that you're Native American. You're connected to your culture. You actually understand it. And so for her to release a result that she has this tiny little blood quantum, I thought the best part of it was having the Cherokee Nation turn around and immediately release that letter saying, this is awful what you did. You're not part of us. You don't get to claim us and benefit politically from pretending to be affiliated with us. That was my favorite thing about it.
My favorite part.
Well, the thing too is that
all she had to do was keep quiet. All she had to do was shut up. It had already died. Nobody remembered it had happened until after she released the results. It was like, I mean, talk about self-goal. Like, good grief.
Well, the whole reason she did it is because she wanted to run for president, and everybody knew because Trump, every time he talks about Elizabeth Warren, he's always calling her Pocahontas. He's always calling her a fake Indian. So what this whole DNA test was, she just wanted to prove that she had some type of background to stop that, to basically take away that strategy from Trump. He can no longer make fun of her about that. And if he couldn't make fun of her about that, then obviously he can't make fun of her about anything, right? So that was for that.
Trump won the bet. Because the bet was that he would take the test and prove she was an Indian.
Yes.
She lost the bet, and still the fuck control F still like bit him on, like, yeah, Trump should still pay because she did the test. No, the bet was that she still proved that she was one. That part was never proven. Right. That part never happened.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, like, she did it so he wouldn't call her Pocahontas anymore, only he's not going to stop.
Oh, he only gave her more fuel.
Yeah. Oh, she thinks because she's won 1,024th that's good enough. But really, let's be honest, she's still Pocahontas, and that's what he's going to do, and the crowd's going to eat it up because he's P.T. Barnum reincarnate.
Right. But like the best thing about that day is how it all played out, because she released this video in the morning. I think it was about 9 a.m. Eastern time. Whenever she released this video, she put it on Twitter. And it was this long, like 10-minute video of her talking to the guy from Stanford University. I can't remember his name. And basically her phone call with him, and he's giving her the results. And the writer for I think it was the Boston Globe, either the Boston Globe or the Boston Herald, who did the initial story about it, was at first he said that she was, I think, 1/632nd, and she had at least one Native American ancestor going back 5 generations. And so everybody was kind of really talking about this. And then he comes out later and he says, well, I made a mistake. My math was wrong. It wasn't 1/632nd. It was 1/1024th. What? And after that, everybody just, conservatives were having a field day with it. Mm-hmm. The left, they were wishing it would go away. And you even had some people on the left who were saying, why did she do this?
Well, and some even still try to defend it, still claim, no, she proves she's an Indian. She has Indian blood. Despite even the Indian reservation were like, no, we don't accept it. It's not enough blood. Not enough.
I mean, my uncle did the like Ancestry.com or 23andMe or whatever, and came back with like 4% Ashkenazi Jew. We were like, wait, nobody in our family's been Jewish ever. Like, and my aunt has like traced our family history back to like Charlemagne at one point, and it's like, there's nobody. So the only thing we can figure is it's like somebody was hiding, like somebody dropped the name, got married, and ditched the like Judaism to avoid a pogrom in Europe at some point, and that's the only explanation. I'm not about to start telling people I'm Jewish. Like, that ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Well, according to Molly, that makes you 4% of a genius.
Fuck that guy.
Stefan Molyneux, that guy. That got lately. I wish we had time for him tonight, but we don't, unfortunately.
Enough that 2019 to be on the 2019 list. Oh, sorry.
Okay, very good point. Good point. But couldn't a lot of people really trace their family trees back and maybe find at least one person, like especially here in America? Could you find even at least one person, even if it's generations back, could you find one person who might be Native American? But that doesn't make you Native American. It just means that somewhere along the way, somebody in your family shacked up with somebody of another family somewhere. We
had a similar family story. My grandmother, for the longest time, thought we were part Cherokee, and because her dad's dad grew up on a reservation. No, her right. So her grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, grew up on a reservation. But the reason he grew up on a reservation was his mom was a school teacher there, and his dad worked for the Indian Bureau. And we thought his mom, the school teacher, was Native, like that she was Cherokee. Well, we found out recently that we went back and looked and like dug some more documents have like been found somewhere. Ancestry.com had some additional stuff or whatever, and it was like, no, she wasn't Native. She's tall, brunette, Native looking features, but she was like Eastern European or something. She was just working as a school teacher. And so there's no Cherokee blood anywhere. So the whole family dropped it. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, and nobody was ever like, oh yeah, like, there's no benefit in it. Like you've got to be I think it's 1/32 for the tribes to be able to go apply to be a member of the tribe. Like it's got to be your grandparent. You got to have a grandparent somewhere.
And it depends from tribe to tribe. Like different bands of different tribes will refuse to acknowledge you or put you on the rolls. And so, yeah, it's like she has no connection. Going back to Elizabeth Warren, you don't get to turn around and be like, yeah, I'm this person that you have no connection to. You can't even name what geographical region.
Well, and she had a super specific story too. It was like her grandparents. So it's like, well, do the math. Your story doesn't check out, lady. Even if you are 1024th or whatever, that's your great grandparents or whatever the hell it is. Like your story doesn't check out. Somebody lied to you.
You sound a bit like those transracial people. They tend to be like, "Oh, I'm not this race because I believe so." So like, there's no scientific effort for the bullshit.
Alicia, what is your personal opinion about?
Sorry, what?
What is your personal opinion about what she did and how the whole thing played out?
I thought it was really interesting.
What do you think about that?
I think that because I'm in South Dakota, we have a very active Native culture here still. I think we're still only about 12% of the population, but compared to the rest of the U.S., that's still a very high percentage of the population. And what we've really done is we've tried so hard to reconnect ourselves and relearn our languages because we weren't allowed to keep our languages. We were put into boarding schools and intentionally forced to unlearn our own languages and separated from our parents.
Adopted out to white parents.
Yep. They call them lost birds when they intentionally adopt a child out to a white family. And that comes from a little girl at the Battle Massacre of Wounded Knee who stayed in the snow for 3 days and somehow didn't freeze, and a white family adopted her, and she had issues her whole life with them basically treating her like their little like parade child, like, look, we have this little Indian child. And so there's a lot of culture and there's a connection to historical trauma there. And to turn around and say, oh, well, I'm going to use this and let Harvard? I'm going to let my university advertise me as a minority faculty.
First minority woman.
Because of this extremely distant connection when I have no actual connection to my tribe. It's just, it kind of does this thing where people, especially in the East, kind of don't really think that Indians are real anymore. Like you just don't believe that there's even natives on this continent anymore sometimes. And that kind of proves to people like it's a fake thing, and people think there's just like casino money that's not really there for most tribes. And she kind of just proved that it's a free ticket, not an actual racial identity.
Interesting. The jokes still have not stopped. Elizabeth Warren announced, I think it was over the weekend, she said that she was putting together an exploratory committee to consider a presidential campaign. And of course, all the jokes came out about that, saying that an exploratory committee is only 1/1024th of a presidential campaign. I really hope she doesn't, at least for her own sake, I hope that she does not run for president, because
she's on the list.
2016 was only 2 years ago. I'm sorry, oh, my bad, 3 years ago.
They already showed the list. She was on the list.
Yeah, well, she hasn't formally announced yet. She's still in that considering phase. But 2016 was only 3 years ago.
If the Republicans get Trump again, if she's going against Trump, Trump wins that with ease. There's no way she can beat him.
Well,
of course.
Sorry, real quick. What's really interesting is in the video that she released where she's talking about possibly running and thinking about it, I know she's trying to connect with millennial voters, but she sits there and drinks a beer during that video. And one of the worst stereotypes about Native Americans is that we're alcoholics.
Oh, I did not think about that. Okay.
Oh, I did. Bust out the firewater jokes.
Wow, I did not think I saw that video the other night, and I did not think of that. I was looking more at the way she was trying to unscrew the cap from the bottle. She looked like she didn't know what she was doing. Like, oh, is this how they? Am I doing this right?
Because her assistants do it for her.
Well, it's as a transition point towards the next topic being AOC, she's trying to take that relatability that is natural to Ocasio Cortez, who understands how that works and is used to doing those kind of things, and is for all of her faults, her Instagram live things are actually endearing, and like it's super politically smart of her. And Elizabeth Warren goes, "Oh, let me steal that. Oh, by the way, just on a like little rabbit trail, Beto O'Rourke did the same thing recently. Shoot me.
It's going to be the new thing.
It's going to be. Yeah, it's got to be. It's the appropriate technology for that. For it's FDR's fireside chats writ large, and it's a brilliant move, and everybody's going to copy it eventually. And some people like Ocasio Cortez the comparison is Nixon and Kennedy in the first televised presidential debate. And Kennedy knew how to be on TV. He knew to take the makeup. He knew not to sweat. He knew how to look in the camera. He understood the technology. And Nixon got his ass handed to him because he looked like crap on TV, even though he did well on the radio. So the people that just listened to it thought he won. And the people who watched it, which was the majority at that point, thought he looked like a schlub. It's the same thing's going to happen. And some of these people are going to get it and they're going to be able to make it happen. And some of them aren't. And it's going to move the needle, I think, politically towards the next generation of politician. It's really interesting to look at like Ocasio-Cortez and go, the Gen Xers are going to get squeezed out. They're going to miss the boat because the boomers didn't give up power at a reasonable age because they didn't die off the way they should have. Like they didn't die off as early. The life expectancy increased, right? So they didn't start dying off in their 60s. They started dying off in their 70s. And the technology and culture shifted. And the elder millennials, like Ocasio-Cortez, are going to beat out their Gen X counterparts for a long time because the Gen Xers aren't going to be able to cross that technology bridge in large formats. And so I actually think that part of it's fascinating to watch this next election go through, because I think you're going to see a lot of incumbent boomers either not run because they can't keep up with the tech necessary to run a good campaign, or you're going to see a lot of them get beat, like they're going to get their brains beat out because people, like technologically savvy people, are going to be able to connect with the voting base better and more naturally.
Well, and you're seeing an elder boomer, because Elizabeth Warren is from like 1950, 1949. So you have this elder boomer against this adorable millennial that people really feel like she gets it. She's been working as a bartender because nobody in our generation can get a good job, even once we go to college.
Is dumb.
Huh?
Cortez is dumb.
What? I don't understand what you said.
Cortez is dumb.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no denying.
Everything would come out of the mouth sound like a
but she's
fucking
relatable.
3-year-old.
It doesn't matter that it doesn't matter if she's smart or dumb. She's relatable, and that's what's going to matter.
All right.
She's relatable,
real quick.
And if you,
I don't find it relatable at all.
All right, real quick. Hold up 1 second. Real quick. All right, Madness, real quick, 1 second. Before we get into Cortez, we're not going to transition just yet. There's one last thing I want to say about Elizabeth Warren. One of our friends who goes by the name Libertarian Redhead, you can find her on Facebook. You can also find her on Twitter. She put up a Facebook post the other day, and I thought that this was hilarious. She said, now that Liz Warren is running for president, I'd like to ask, will her war whoop be better than Howard Dean's? Do you remember Howard Dean in 2004?
It's my brother's text. It's my brother's text message ringtone on his phone.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm too young for this.
What's that?
I'm too young for this.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll send you a link of Howard Dean. This is back in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. Now, as far as like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, yeah, she has said. Now,
man, it's the first thing that comes up when you type in Howard Dean in YouTube. That's just embarrassing.
Oh, that's amazing. That is awesome. You know, here's like my own perception of Cortez. She's 29 years old. She has political ambitions, and she is not someone who started out at a low level and then worked her way up. No, she went directly for the U.S. Congress, and she beat out an incumbent. And from what I understand, she really busted her tail, really canvassing her area really hard, doing it herself, going door to door. Now she is kind of thrust into the. She what?
She won't need to next time. She's got name recognition now.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But now she's kind of thrust into the spotlight, and I just she said, and like from like the time she won her primary, she became like the next big star for the Democrats. And someone who's never been in that position before, like, you know, I don't know if it was just anxiety or what, but she has said some pretty silly things, like her whole thing, like the three chambers of the government being the president, the House, and the Senate.
Well, let's turn the scene to that.
She called Nancy Pelosi, she called her leader Pelosi when she meant to say speaker, although she wasn't speaker yet. But, you know, she's young, she's probably nervous, but she wanted to be there, and she worked her way there. Here's one thing I said on my podcast a few weeks ago, because I was talking about the way that the right was really attacking her, and I was saying, if you attack the things that she says and you call her names, and yes, the memes are funny, but when it comes down to it, when it's time to get serious and really start defeating her, you got to defeat her policies. Don't attack what she says. Don't attack her intellect. She is a democratic socialist. She wants Medicare for all. She put up a tweet earlier today saying that she wants to cancel Puerto Rico's debt, as if debt is something that could just be canceled. She wants to cancel other forms of debt too, like student debt. But you know, and then she's also bringing out this Green New Deal. Go after that. And like I said, the memes are funny, and we've made a few memes at Sarcasm and Liberty, but we do that because it's funny and that's part of our brand. But whenever you ask one of us about it, we're going to talk about her policies. I don't care what she says. I don't care if she says that there's three chambers of government. Look.
Well, here's the other. I mean, you know, she's college educated. She's got a degree from Boston University, I think. Like, she's not stupid, right? Like, she might not be the most smooth talking, like, political operative, but that's actually in her favor, I think, especially for her base, where it's like, oh, she's just one of us, which she isn't, but she comes off looking like that. Did you get my link?
No, sorry, I'm looking at her education. She's actually like, she's won like engineering prizes and stuff.
Yeah, she's not retarded. Like, yeah. She's
comes off
just not
as
well spoken. She doesn't speak well in public, but that doesn't mean she's not smart.
Well, and none of us are used to having what we say recorded, amplified, and then a transcript made of what we say. That is something that is difficult to learn, and she is learning it all. And I don't remember hearing her name before, probably September of last year.
She won her primary in July, and that was
July?
Yeah.
I mean, she's had 8 months to adjust to being a major celebrity.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I think, I find her irritating, but I find, this is going to sound really awful, but I find the Queens, Bronx, Puerto Rican inflection accent, I find it grating. Not that that culture is bad, but it's like listening to Cardi B. I can't it's fingernails on a chalkboard. Her accent drives me nuts, and AOC's got just a little hint of that, and it's just oh, and so it doesn't I've got a weird thing about oh, that's just kind of borderline but then you listen to her and you go, okay, she's not complete and you look into her background a little bit and you go, well, that's not completely stupid. And you look at some of the stuff she's written and you go, well, she can write worth a damn when she's got a chance to edit. So yeah, she's having some issues talking on the fly live and having it recorded and then dissect, Alicia, like you were saying, dissected every little detail because, she's the second youngest woman ever elected to Congress and she was a nobody before that. And, she's put herself out there. And so on some levels, I know, Mike, I both think she's a horrible statist piece of crap, and I wish she didn't exist, and I wish the state didn't exist. But at the same point, you've got to respect the hustle a little bit to go, man. I know some people. I knew a kid tangentially, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, who was 18, and walked and knocked every door in his district to win his state house seat in Ohio. And it's you got to respect that hustle, but then to go do that and for the U.S. Congress, that should take a lot of money and not just knocking on doors. So I don't know. I think a lot of people are underestimating her potential and taking her lightly when they really would not like to see her in higher office, and there's a decent chance that that's where that's headed.
What did we do with Trump? It's the same thing.
It's the similar, That's with less of the carnival barker to it. So she's slightly more polished even than Trump, and so it's actually an easier sell for a lot of people to go, well, she's not psychotic and crazy.
And he had 60 years of 50 years of public speaking leading into 2016. She has 2 years to only get better between now and 2020.
Yep.
Well, you hope that. You really hope that if that happens.
Oh, she will. Her district is dark blue.
She's not going to be old enough.
No way.
What?
She's not going to be old enough.
No,
she's
not old enough.
Oh, you're talking about president. Oh, no.
But she can run for senator.
Yeah, but I think she'll stay in Congress where she's at. But
somebody's gonna get a hold of her. Some professional fixer is gonna get a hold of her because she's too valuable.
Well, I know maybe in time she finally actually gonna look at some things about the economy and that socialism cannot fucking work.
That doesn't matter.
Maybe that will happen.
It doesn't matter.
I would say 2028. Actually, that is my prediction. She'll be 38 years old. I say 2028. Huh? She'll have a few terms in Congress.
For the Olympics.
Do what?
Oh, I said it's she's waiting to be old enough for the Olympics.
Right.
Well, it's also
I'm gonna say 2028.
I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's the joke about the Kardashians. Just remember, you're not ugly, you're poor.
Yeah.
It's you're not polished. It's you're not polished, you're poor, right? The political capital will be the money will come behind because she won, because she's an incumbent in a big district in an important city. I mean, Amazon is moving into her district, adjacent to her district. Like, it's going to matter.
Mhm.
She's going to matter politically, and so the money will follow, and the professional handlers will follow.
It's going to make a huge mistake. Like, it is still a decently long time. A lot of things can happen.
No, you don't. I mean, what's his name from Atlanta is still a sitting congressman. Like, she's not going to do something dumb enough to not get reelected. It's not going to happen. I mean, she's in a hard blue Democratic district, and she played harder blue and more populist than the incumbent, and that's how she won. And nobody's going to play harder to the left and more populist than she is. And, populism is on the rise in America again, left and right, and the right's ahead of the curve on that a little bit. But the left is going to catch up, and nobody's going to, I mean,
who knows?
Nobody's going to run against her in that district. I wouldn't think. I think she's there's a decent. I mean, part of why she won is the Republicans didn't even have a primary. They put somebody up against her to compete after she won her primary, but it was a throwaway. Like, everybody knew she was going to win. Nobody. Yeah, I mean, she was campaigning for other people. She wasn't even campaigning in New York to win the election. Mm-hmm. She knew. I mean, they knew the day she won the primary, she was going to win. She's perfectly safe. It's a super protected, super safe district, and somebody's going to get a hold of her, and the money's going to follow. And 15 years from now, we're going to be going, she's a multi-millionaire, because they all are, and everybody's going to be scratching their head going, well, what happened to democratic socialism?
Right. So, anybody else have anything else to add about Alexandria Ocasio Cortez? I've said my bit. Anybody else want to add anything else? Okay, we will talk about another. This person is probably a presidential candidate hopeful for the Libertarian Party if he chooses to run again. Right now, the only name I've heard as far as that party is Bill Weld. I hope he runs just so he has a chance to beat Bill Weld. Alicia, are you still considering a Libertarian Party vice presidential run, or is that just kind of
her and Paleo?
I don't think I'd want to be with John. I'd want to be with Paleo. I'm going to stick with my candidate.
Well,
Jesus.
I wouldn't want to be with John McAfee.
The LP is such a dumpster fire. I mean, good grief.
Yeah. Well, John McAfee, I think the guy is brilliant. The guy is extremely smart. He knows everything about cryptocurrency. He is one of the most brilliant minds on this planet.
I don't know anybody who's doing. I have all kinds of fuck you money better. Sorry, Mike, for the language, but like, who do you know who has that? Language. Who do you know who's got that kind of money? Who's doing it better? Like, I'm gonna bang hookers in Belize and leave the country because you think I murdered somebody. And what the hell?
No.
Like, nobody.
Did you see his news picture?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's amazing, and it's like the tattoos and the drinking and the guns and the like. I mean, he's a comic book character, and you look at most billionaires. I used to work for a family of billionaires. I will say they had a wonderful collection of airplanes. That was their fun time, but they don't even exist online. Like, you can't. They pay people to scrub their online presence. They don't exist. So he's got multiple billions. I mean, he makes Trump look like a poor person, and he's I mean, dude, I could only wish to have that kind of just bite me. I'm going to do literally whatever I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. So just for the lulz, please run.
Well, here's the thing too about as far as the Libertarian Party, and it was Michael, one of our team members at Sarcasm and Liberty, Michael Leoncello, and he had kind of posed a question of, do you want someone serious or do you want someone not so? I can't remember exactly how he put it, and I was saying, if you want seriously, you don't want John McAfee. Of course, you don't want Bill Weld, obviously, but if you like you say, just for the lulz, John McAfee is definitely the best, because John McAfee's Twitter is going to be highly scrutinized, especially the tweet that he put out 2 days ago. This was on New Year's Eve.
Oh, that wasn't new. If this is where I'm going, this is an old story that he decided to bring back up.
Yeah, it's an old story that came back up. He talked about how he wanted to go to New Zealand and he wanted to have sex with whales. He says that there's some like exclusive club in New Zealand. He says that there's some exclusive club in New Zealand with people who swim and they try to hook up with whales. And he tried to be a part of it, and they would not let him join their club.
So he went and tried by himself. He went and tried solo.
So he went and tried by himself. So he went and tried by himself. And of course, people were talking about how sex with a whale is not consensual. And here's the tweet that he says: "Enough of the whale effing is not consensual BS. A humpback whale weighs 70,000 pounds, is 50 feet long, can dive more than a quarter mile, and can crush ships with a single swipe of his tail. If a human manages, you damn well better believe it's consensual."
Okay.
Well, please tell me he was on drugs at the moment he tweeted that.
Man, I think
He's telling me
that guy's living on drugs. That guy's high on life.
Yeah.
That's what that is. High on life is what that is.
Okay, so there was a follow-up, and it was great. Someone asked, who is trying to have sex with whales? And he said, I tried to join a secret Maori whale effing club, but the discrimination against the elderly, bearded, Tagalog-speaking white men, which was rampant in New Zealand, caused them to mistake me for a well-known tech personality, and I was sadly thrashed. Tried on my own and failed.
That is the best angle of identity politics I've ever heard in my life. This exclusive
It's so outrageous. It is. Everybody's flipping out about Trump, and we're over here sitting in the corner going, "Y'all are weird about Trump. You haven't seen our guy. Our guy's crazy."
I would love for, even if it's just for charity, a debate between Donald Trump and John McAfee would be beautiful.
I mean, that's comedy gold. That is comedy gold.
Yeah.
You could, yeah. Oh.
2 going and 3.
I'd buy tickets for that.
I really want to go to Austin 2020, and it's one of my goals is that I can meet him. Like, I really want to meet him.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
I'm going to bring a whale and ask him to sign it.
That's Alicia. That is hilarious. That is very funny. Get him to sign a whale. That's so good. Hey John, we're paying attention to your Twitter, man. Here's a whale. Please sign it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
The gift that keeps on giving.
I mean, he's a total nut job. Like, brilliant, psycho, crazy. Everybody's like, "Oh, Elon Musk is Tony Stark." I'm like, I'd rather have John McAfee. Thanks. Seems like a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I would just really enjoy the pictures from the Oval Office of the outlandish things he would do.
All the drugs on workers, yeah.
Right there on the desk.
Oh yeah, that's.
Conway put her feet on the couch, and it was a big deal. It would be nothing.
There is another tweet. That Team McAfee had made, and he had tweeted out. It's just before the whale tweet, where he said, "Yeah, Team McAfee tweeted out at official McAfee spent the other night hunting midgets while naked. B revised the reenactment." And he said, "A few nights ago, a minor disturbance woke me. Clothes take time to put on and make you more vulnerable while doing so. Noises in the night give no time for such nonsense. I came out naked and armed." I don't know if he found midgets in his house, but they said that he was hunting midgets naked.
Well,
could you imagine this guy in the Oval Office?
I did not need to know he slept naked. Thanks. That is an image I will need to go scrub my brain with bleach for.
I don't even know how the guy looks like.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good grief. Oh, that's funny.
This could be our libertarian nominee. Everybody, libertarians who enjoy voting and who are hopeful to get a to get a libertarian on the debate stage, this might be what you have to work with.
He knows where Aleppo is.
What's that?
He knows where Aleppo is.
And he does have some sense of charisma too. I'll give him that. And when he speaks, you actually want to listen to what he has to say, especially when he talks about the wells. But enough about that. On to another embarrassing person in politics, the President of the United States. 2018, you saw the President of the United States, Donald Trump, having a Twitter feud with a porn star.
Oh, yes. That's a term that I would use lately. That's a loose term. Porn
Twitter
star.
feud. Porn star. Well,
I prefer.
I don't know what you want to call it.
I prefer porn lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Avenatti. Yeah. Well, he got into it with Stormy too.
Oh, I know. No, I know what you were talking about. I'm just saying, like, porn lawyer is a much funnier term.
Like,
oh my goodness.
He got into a lot of Twitter feuds over this year, though, didn't he?
I mean, okay, let's be really honest. How, like, upside down world are we living in that the President of the United States, like, everybody knows, right? Like, Donald Trump was in Playboy in the 80s. Like, everybody knows he's had 2 wives, 3, all 3 models. Wives. The current one was a porn star, like, or porn actress. Star might be a loose term. Like, just naked pictures of her on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it, right? Like, ooh, the sanctity of the office and respecting the president. Bite me. I could care less about all of it. Like, yeah, make it a clown show because that's what it is. Perfect. No problem. But it is upside down world that guy is president of the United States and is on Twitter and gets in a fight with one of the, bimbos that he slept with at one point. And to top it all off, she loses the lawsuit and has to pay his legal fees with the GoFundMe campaign. Good.
Yes.
Grief, that's funny.
Yeah, and that is what brought on that tweet where, because the judge ruled that she had to pay his legal fees, and then he had tweeted that out, and then he said, "Now I can go after Horseface and her third-rate lawyer in the great state of Texas." Amazing, absolutely amazing. And then Stormy tweets back talking about Trump's shortcomings, and she ends her tweet with, "Bring it on, Tiny." Yeah.
Yep.
And only that, but she also wrote that tell-all book where she said that that Trump's wiener looked like the mushroom from Mario Kart. Yeah. Gosh, this is 2018 was just 2018 was a thing of wonder.
I wonder which color Toad then. Probably the red one because it's the best well-known one. Because you have blue ones, you have green ones, you have yellow ones.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming she's thinking red and white.
I really don't want to think about what the color is. But, yeah.
There's definitely a parody pornographic film that she could make to pay all of these legal fees and have the sound effects in the background.
The Mario sound effects?
No. She cannot use the sound effects. You have to pay Nintendo for it, and Nintendo is no way gonna let her do that.
Oh, you could get close enough.
Similar.
You could get close enough for the sound effects to be fine.
Nintendo is very protective about the stuff. If it is something even close to it, they will sue the fuck out of you.
Oh my God.
They have enough money to sue far more than Trump can.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's the upside down world, guys. The Matrix broke in 2012. We're watching slow decline.
We're on Bizarro Planet.
Or are we on Earth 616 or some crap?
Another thing from 2018, the Senate Judiciary Committee explored what boofing is. And I never knew what boofing was until the Brett Kavanaugh and what was her name?
Who cares?
Christine Blasey Ford.
Yeah.
That when they both had to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and they actually had to ask him what boofing is. Absolutely amazing. That entire day. I mean, we had her give her testimony, and then we had Democrat senators virtue signaling, like Cory Booker called her Joan of Arc, and
I mean,
and then
if you want a better example of
stupid outfits,
if you want to have a better example of what Thaddeus Russell's explanation of what American politics is that it is a play on a small stage for a gigantic audience. It's fiction.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a better example of that, I mean, just what the hell? Hey, let's cover up the fact that, like, you know, Dianne Feinstein leaked that letter, or, you know, at the same time it's coming out that there was a Chinese spy on her personal staff for 20 years. That happened the same week.
Mm-hmm. It did. You're right. It did. It's part of that. Like, the whole thing was just a waste of time because, yeah, they both went up there and they testified, and then here we are still. We don't have a definitive answer of what exactly happened. What was it, 33 years ago, 30, however many years ago? What was it, like 1984 or something, 1982?
It probably never happened. I'm actually pretty much certain of it. The way how she acted, I'm really doubting it. I'm really much doubting it ever happened.
It doesn't matter if it did or didn't. How are you supposed to prove that?
Well, exactly. You can't go back. And they were talking about an FBI investigation of it, but what is the FBI supposed to investigate?
She really have to prove herself that it happened. If
she doesn't know where it happened, she doesn't know exactly when it happened. She doesn't know who was there.
She doesn't remember how she got home. Like her house was like 5 miles from the house that she was at. She doesn't remember how she got home that night. Did someone pick her up? Did she walk home? Like, I mean,
yeah, but she's got a clear enough memory that he held her to the bed while she screamed.
What's rather funny, because in the original version, she clearly even stated they only tried to throw her into a closet and there was nothing sexual going on. But it's apparently later retconned to that he did try to rape her.
Yeah,
he kept changing the story.
Yeah, the whole, and then, you know, look, if something did happen, it's terrible, and, you know, whatever else that looks like. But the, you know, Handmaid's Tale robes and the, like, just the just over the top dramatics of the whole thing is just like, it's just proof of, oh, it's just theater. That's all it is.
Yeah. And not even, she was even claiming that when she took that legal test, that she was crying, but when she had to sit there and speak about it on camera, she was trying to emulate emotions but couldn't do it.
Yeah, were the whole.
Why? Like, what is going on there? Like, how could people still buy this? She's clearly trying to emulate emotions.
Yeah.
I think
even a bad actor can do better job than she can.
I mean, I think that the day that she was actually, like, speaking in front of that many cameras and people, I mean, at that point, you're trying to, like, that happens to victims in court all the time, that people think that they're lying because they seem like they're lying, because they're trying to remember their story, because they're so nervous about the event. They're not paying attention to their memory so much as just getting the questions right. That's actually very common.
Yeah, I'm not going to criticize her on her performance in front of, you know, the ridiculous stage show that was. I'm just saying the whole story is nuts. So, like, the fact that she was even there is crazy based on what little, you know, what little there was to go on. The fact that she was even in front of Congress is crazy.
I think it's the wrong time to come out for anything like that, right as someone's rising to prominence, because you're not going to seem like you have more than an ulterior motive. It's hard to believe someone
and it's also
so opposite of the political party that person is really just there because
it's political and not personal, right? Yeah. I mean, the other piece of it is, like, it's not like Kavanaugh's a good judge, right? Like, there's plenty of other crap to go after him for, but the stuff that he's bad on is stuff that all of those senators signed off on. So if you go after him for that, all he has to do is turn around and go, well, you were briefed and you signed off on it and you approved and you voted and blah, blah, blah. And it's all documented. So they couldn't go after him on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was in the Bush White House when they wrote the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Yep. He was one of the writers of it.
He was one of the drafters of the Patriot Act. Like, He's terrible on the Fourth Amendment. He's mildly okay on the Second. There's no telling how he feels about anything else because he's not been a judge very long at all. And his legal, career before that was as a political lawyer for he's completely a creature of the system, and he's awful on all kinds of things. There's plenty of other stuff to go after him about, but his potential disapproval of Roe v. Wade and his potential, because he'd never ruled on anything even remotely close, like that was enough to set off the, radical feminist wing. It seems real thin. On top of all the she didn't remember and whatever else. Like on top of all that, it just seems.
Well,
like
and it was
there's so many other things you could have gone after him.
It was the most convenient thing that could have happened for him to be confirmed. That everything got derailed. Nobody focused on his policies. It was just kind of like, let's get around this and not actually think about how he's going to interpret the Constitution long term. It's hard to tell if he's even okay with interpreting it through the lens of today, or if he thinks that
original.
Yeah.
I don't care, right? Like I don't hold the Constitution in any kind of high regard, particularly. I just think, if you're going to criticize him, if you're going to have an argument, have an actual argument.
Yeah.
Which, nobody on the panel that's going to judge him wants to have that argument because all those fingers point back at them because they all signed off on it.
Right. Yeah, that was, and as soon as that thing ended, as soon as they did the confirmation vote, there was, because they did it on a Friday, I think through that weekend, there was a little bit of talk about it, but by that following Monday, it was gone. It was completely gone. He got sworn in, he was on the court, and then everybody was just done. On to the next.
Well,
and we never found out.
There's nothing else to talk about. Once he's appointed, there's nothing to charge him with, and once he's appointed, it's a lifetime appointment.
Yeah.
What's left to argue about?
It was as if it never happened, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Just.
And even still, I don't know which Democrat it was, but one of them knew already of the events a few couple weeks before when the first hearing was there, but never mentioned it. Never did ask stuff about it.
She had the letter by that time, and she never said anything about it to anyone until before.
A pretty weird, suspicious thing. Why that? Because what's the name? They didn't want to be mentioned. You don't have to mention names. Just state what happened because someone came forward with it. You don't have to mention names.
Right. Yeah. No, she held on to it until the last possible moment. Yeah.
What is very suspicious. And then a few couple of Republicans got through one of the Democrats' officers. That's either really weird.
Yeah, I remember
what happened on that time period.
That was a really dark week. That was a dark week on Capitol Hill. That was amazing. Very dark week. We're almost out of time here. The last thing we'll talk about is the neocon freakout of Trump wanting to pull troops out of Syria. He hasn't. In fact, the last I saw was he's up where he might change his mind and keep troops in Syria. But whenever he announced that he was going to pull troops from Syria, it seemed like Republicans and Democrats kind of united in Congress and were completely against this. Lindsey Graham, who became one of Trump's allies earlier in the year, all of a sudden he just flipped where Graham's inner neocon came out and was completely against Donald Trump doing this. Jim Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, resigned over this. And Eric, what do you have to say about this?
Which hat would you like me to wear? Do you want me to wear my veteran hat? Do you want me to wear my anarchist hat? Which way do you want me to go with this?
Okay, let's make this interesting. Veteran hat.
The veteran hat. Good riddance. Good riddance to Mad Dog Mattis. Good riddance to the war in Syria. Good riddance to people. The reality is, in Syria, the U.S. is backing both sides of a three-way, or two of the three sides of a three-way civil war, and we got no business being there. And meet the old boss, same as the new boss. We're going to hang the Syrian Kurds out to dry the same way we did the Iraqi Kurds in the 90s. Like, it's awful. But we shouldn't have been there in the first place. And it looks like, from what I've heard recently, that the Syrian Kurds in Rojava are going to make a deal with the Syrian army. The Syrian army is going to come back to the border with Turkey and protect them from Erdogan. And so they're not going to get completely screwed. We never should have been there. And I hope to God that whoever replaces Mattis is some, not Iran hawk, to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm not real proud of my service. I don't talk about it much. I never went overseas. I got hurt. I got out pretty quickly. I signed up for some right reasons and some wrong reasons. I've got a lot of friends still in the military. One friend in particular who I'd rather not see go do stupid stuff in the sandbox anymore. And all we've ever done over there is make things worse. So, I mean, from that perspective, it's conservative Twitter was all flame this morning because Trump put out a video going, we spent a ton of money. I got him more money. Mattis couldn't get anything done. And so basically he got fired. And they're like, what the hell, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's what the commander-in-chief is supposed to do. We've been in the Middle East for 17 years if you start in 2001. But really, I mean, depending on how far you want to go back, it goes back to World War II and really in the 50s in Iran. And then, it really picked up in the 80s. And like, why? For what? Because we want to stop China from building a, quote, land bridge, or Iran from building a land bridge. We're there for Israel. Like, that's what it comes down to. And it's madness. It's complete madness. Honestly, my veteran hat's not that much different from my anarchist hat. My anarchist hat is, we should bring them all home, period, end of discussion, forever. Like, disband the military and come home. Have a nice day. But as far as, like, practical political, like, discussion, I'm good with it. I think it is the instinct that got Trump elected, that these wars are ridiculous, that we're paying for things we shouldn't be paying for. We're wasting blood and coin and treasure overseas for no reason. We're not getting anything out of it. I think, he's got no real political, like, philosophy that underrides that opinion. And so, he can't be counted on to do anything consistently. But I think, realistically, that his instincts are correct. And if he listens to those, things should get better. And we might actually see an end to the endless wars.
Maybe. Time will tell on that one. That's...
Really
I think I heard your baby.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, it'll be interesting to see how the withdrawal goes, because we're going to be able to keep reporters there a lot more than we were able to in the 90s, and actually see if we're able to do it without causing this massive bloodshed that people are, that's the first thing people grab onto is, well, tons of people will die because we're the protection there now. And it's kind of one of those things that it's going to be interesting to see what can happen there over time when we're not constantly telling them how to run their society.
I would highly recommend everybody go listen to the Scott Horton show regularly. He's got the best opinions on all that stuff, but more importantly, he's talking to reporters on the ground that nobody else is talking to. So I can't remember what it was. Go look at my Twitter feed. I was talking to somebody today about if you didn't know this 6 months ago, you weren't paying attention, because Scott was talking about it 6 months in advance, but it was some detail of I remember what it was. Libya. It's like, hey, we now have details that connect Clinton and Obama to the gun running through Libya to Syria. And it's like, yeah, I've known about that for more than a year because Scott was talking to the reporters who did that work a year ago. So if you really want to know what's going on with American foreign policy and the empire abroad, that's who you need to go listen to. And to be perfectly honest, I'd like to see all the troops come home tomorrow, Rothbard button style. I'd bring them all home tomorrow. fuck the consequences. Like, sorry for you. You know, you put your trust in a position in people you shouldn't have, and they screwed you, and that is what it is. It does not mean I'm not sympathetic to the realities of, well, if we all just pull out tomorrow, things are going to get really nasty, and the vacuum that is left in that place is not going to be good. But I don't know. I honestly don't know how much worse it could be than the hellscape that the empire has caused in that area. So, you know, you let the tribal leaders work it out and figure it out amongst themselves, and I think they go back to what amounts to some semblance of normalcy pretty quickly. And yeah, people are going to die, but people are dying right now.
Well, and I would argue that they put their trust in us. It's a lot more, and depending on the region, of we came in to give them freedom, and then gave them freedom for a while. Yep. And they become dependent on us. It's just like the welfare state here in America. We've created our own cycle of dependency.
Oh, and
now we're finding
the U.S. military is the largest socialist project on the planet.
Yep. And we're going to pull it all out, and then people will die, and it's going to be because of what we did. But at the same time, we don't need to keep becoming the police of the world.
People are dying anyway, and I honestly think even in, say, the midterm, 2 to 5 years, it's probably better. Like the first year that the U.S. military is gone, probably worse than it is today in most places. 2 years from now, probably better on average.
And I wouldn't be opposed to us saying, hey, there might be some people that are in certain groups that it's going to be dangerous for them to be there without us. And because we have put them in a dangerous position, we're bringing them back with us.
You can't bring 600,000 Kurds to the U.S. Like, you can't do it.
Is that many people?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
something like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't bring several million Sunni, Muslims out of Iraq. Like, you can't relocate all those people. They've got to figure out how to live either where they are or how to relocate to wherever they've got family or whatever on their own. I mean, yeah, the reality is we've spent the U.S. empire has spent the better part of 40 years screwing around overseas, causing nothing but problems. And that's not to say that in some cases and places we may or may not have been provoked, although most of that is, in my opinion, most of that was backlash.
Yeah. We
kicked a hornet's nest and got stung in a couple of places, and every time we get stung, we kick bigger, worse hornet's nests. Yep. So, yeah, I'm all for, everybody coming home, and I'm all for Mattis not being. I mean, yeah, I think any level of, like, apparently Rand Paul has Trump's ear, and if he has any kind of say in who's the next Secretary of Defense, it should be better. The reality is you're probably going to get some sort of executive out of, like, Raytheon or something, and it's not going to be a whole lot better. And they're going to have the same kind of fights Mattis had with Trump. Hopefully that particular, whoever it is, isn't the Iran hawk that Mattis is. Mattis is still pissed from all reports, from everything I've read and seen. Mattis is still pissed about the Beirut bombing in the 80s because he was there. He was a Marine in Beirut, Lebanon, and they blame it on Iran, and he's still pissed about that. And so, I mean, but the other piece of it is that Iran is Israel's biggest enemy for no apparent reason other than they've pacified all the other Arab states around them by beating their brains in with our weapons. So, the whole situation of the U.S. being in the Middle East is madness. We're there to support the political policies of the House of Saud, a ultra-minority, terrorist-funding, super wealthy sect of crazy people, and Israel, the most fascist state on the planet. So the free market democratic republic of the United States is spending trillions of dollars that we don't have, all borrowed, to defend fascism and monarchy. I mean, and then on top of that, the CIA is funding one side of civil wars and the DOD is funding another. Like, we're fighting our own people on both. Like, it's madness. The whole thing. We're
not fighting a lot of the times our own people. We're fighting our own technology we're supplying to other people so they can be the ones to die.
Our own tech, our own. Yeah.
Like, we're not going to kill our people.
No, it's proxy civil. It's internal beltway proxy civil wars. The madness is it's not the proxy civil war, the Cold War, where it's like, oh, we're fighting the Russians using the Vietnamese or the Koreans or the Laotians, or pick a spot, Afghanistan, all the way through we've been there the whole time. So no, we're fighting internal beltway. Like, the CIA and the DOD are fighting proxy wars between each other to the financial benefit of our military-industrial complex and the mercenaries that we're outsourcing. It's the Prussian Empire in the 1800s. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And we will watch that play out before our eyes, maybe in 2019. Another year. Today's January 2nd, day 2 of 2019. Nothing happened yet, so hopefully this won't be the upside down year that 2018 was, but like I said, it's only January 2nd. We'll see what happens. But I hope it's not worse. I hope it's better, but we will see. I don't know.
I think it gets worse.
The new Congress is sworn in tomorrow, and then the Democrats officially take control of the House, and who knows what's going to happen after that.
I said it gets worse.
Meet the old boss, same as the new boss.
Right. Exactly. We thank everyone for watching tonight. We will be back again next Wednesday. I'm not sure what the topic is just yet. We kind of play it by ear each week and then choose the topic that day because so much happens in a week. But we will be back here again, 10 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday night. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a good night.
Yep.